Good morning everyone, my name is Kirsty Ward and you're joining me on my allotment today. It is a very chilly day here on my allotment. It is Sunday the 7th of January and my allotment is based in Lincoln in the UK, for anybody that doesn't know. Now, I haven't been to my allotment for maybe 3 months, which is a long time. I haven't done really any content surrounding my allotment. I haven't done anything on YouTube for a while, so I'm really sorry and I'm really thankful for those that are sticking around. But I am back and I thought today what I'll do is just show you around the plot a little bit. Hopefully just make it quite a short video of what the plot looks like now in its current state and a few of the things that I'm planning to do over the next few months to get the plot ready for spring. Now, for anybody that has an allotment, it is a big task, especially if you're doing it on your own. I mean, it's bad enough if you're doing it with somebody else, but if you're doing it on your own, it's quite difficult. And along with other commitments, you know, like having a job or other hobbies, children, pets, whatever it is quite difficult to upkeep an allotment if you're not here regularly. I find you only have to miss a couple of weeks and you can get quite behind. Now, I obviously have missed a couple of months, but with it being autumn, winter, I wasn't too worried because normally the frost kills off everything anyway. And then you can sort of just come in and get it done. The only thing about the winter that can be difficult is actually getting the weather to get down here to prepare it. Now, it is a very dry day today. It's cold, but it's perfect sort of conditions for me to just start clearing the beds. So that's the main aim. So I'm just going to show you around the plot a little bit, show you all the things that I need to do, and then I'm going to crack on with a few jobs for the next couple of hours, or just for how long my fingertips sort of cope with the cold. But I hope you're all okay and you've had a fantastic Christmas and New Year. I'm really excited to be back on the allotment and I can't wait to bring you loads of content over on YouTube this year. So we're going to start at the top of the allotment plot. Now, as you can see, the compost bays are full of like wood chip and compost, but they're also full of weeds that have crept in from the path. So what I'm going to do up here is sort of dig out like a good bit of spacing in front of the compost bins just to stop like the grass and the weeds creeping in. I'm just going to give the compost beds a bit of a turnaround, and like any of the wood chip that's there, I am going to go and use that on my paths. Even though it's broken down a little bit, there's still some left, so I'm going to use that. As you can see, the front of my shed's painted, but the side of the shed isn't painted. Now, that was a reason because there was a beautiful plant growing up like near the side of the shed in the summer, and I didn't want to like have to cut it down to paint the shed, so hopefully I'll paint the side of the shed in spring to match the rest of it. Now, this bit looks a bit messy. There's 3 little raised beds here. It won't take me long to basically just clear them out and top them up with a bit of cardboard and some fresh compost. The wood chip area around it is quite weedy, so all I'm going to do is pull up all the weeds around and lay some fresh wood chip. There's quite a few brambles growing, so I'm going to dig them out. And now everything's sort of died back, it's actually really easy to see where the brambles are growing from. So I always find this time of year it's easy to like be able to dig them out. So I'll get those dug out. I've got a strawberry bed at the back, which I actually think I might move from there just because it's quite close to a couple of compost bins that I've got at the back where I put loads of like couch grass and bindweed and stuff, and then it all starts growing, and it was actually reaching across into the strawberry bed. So I'm going to hopefully move that, and then we move over to like in front of the shed where my flower beds are. Now, to be honest, the beds there are just covered in couch grass, like it's just grown up probably a couple of meters into the flower bed, so that'll just be a case of digging that out over the winter when the ground is obviously not too cold. So really that's all I've got to do in this bit. It sounds like a lot, but sometimes once you get going it doesn't take as long as you think. Now we're just moving down the plot quite a bit. We're in front of my shed and I've got the smallest bed here. The sun's coming out. Oh, I'm so excited the sun's coming out. Okay, so we've moved down the plot a little bit and now we're sort of we've just gone past the shed, and this is the smallest bed I have on the allotment. It is quite full of weeds, to be honest. So I think what I will do is edge the bed. It definitely needs a good edge, and dig out the clumps of couch grass that have grown into the bed slightly and get rid of those. The bed on a whole sort of needs some of the bigger weeds digging out. I'm obviously trying to do as little digging as possible, and I am converting everything to no dig, but that takes time, and it's also having the compost available. But what I'm going to do is obviously dig the edge out here and start digging the bigger weeds out, and then sort of like hand pull out the other weeds, and then I'm going to cover this in a nice layer of compost. I've got 2 raised beds that are just at the back of this this bed, and those raised beds are just full of like lots of spring bulbs. It gets quite covered in brambles and stuff there, so I'm just happy for it to have some nice like flowering bulbs in. So I will just top those up with a bit of compost, maybe add some more bulbs, and behind that you can just sort of see is 2 big sage plants here. I'm just going to cut those back, and actually, like I said, in the winter as everything dies back, you can sort of see where some of the big perennial weeds are, like brambles, and I can actually see where 2 of the bramble plants are starting in the middle of those sage plants. So again, I'm going to try and dig those out. And then I've got the bathtub just at the back here. That is full of bulbs, but it's also got a few weeds in it, so I'm just going to weed that gently. I'm going to add some more allium bulbs into that, and whatever other flowering bulbs I've got, because I haven't even started planting my spring flowering bulbs yet. And then that will be that done. And I think what I'm still trying to decide, maybe, which is the biggest question, is whether I start at the top of the plot and work my way down, or whether I start at like the other end and work my way down, or whether I get like the big beds done first. I don't know. I'm quite tempted to try and get the biggest growing bed done first, get that all sort of like weeded, dug out or whatever, and then heavily mulched, ready for like a no dig area, because once the big area is done, you feel a bit better about doing the little areas. I'm not sure. We'll see. Okay, so now all I've done is flip the camera around where I was before, and as you can see, this is the start of the biggest bed on my plot. I'm just going to walk down and show you exactly how big it is. And it goes all the way, I don't even know if you can see me anymore because I can't see on the camera, all the way down here. As you can see, there are lots of weeds in it. Not as many weeds as you'd expect, because this is my no dig bed and it does a lot better. The only thing that's happened is the couch grass has gotten into part of it's got into like part of the bed. It's just sort of made like a little path over to the other side. So other than that, actually the other areas are okay. So for this, it would just be a case of clearing out all the old plants. So there's lots of like calendula, statice, what are those, straw flowers, loads of like dead flowering plants, loads of sunflowers, which the birds have eaten all of the seeds, runner beans and things like that. So I'll start off by clearing everything that I can that can go into the compost bin, and then I am going to have to dig out this couch grass because it is awful, but that's only sort of that middle section. There's a few other bigger weeds that will need either digging out, or I'll use sort of a hand tool just to prise them out, and then I'm just going to give it a really thick layer of compost to make it a no dig bed. I'm not going to cardboard it this year, I'm just going to thick layer mulch it, and then hopefully that will be that done. So yeah, it's that whole, do I start with this really big job and then do the rest? Because maybe when I finish this big job, it'll make me feel really good about the allotment. Because if you can imagine this looking like this now, and then just looking like pure compost soil goodness, that's probably going to inspire me to do a bit more on the allotment. And then just parallel to that big bed, we've got a nice bed here that has a cherry tree and some gooseberry plants and some artichoke plants. So this is like my perennial bed. However, there are some really big brambles in here. So again, I'm going to try and take the time to dig those out as much as I can, because while I can see where they are coming from, it's easier for me to dig them out. I do have an asparagus bed in here, but it's over the years it's just become so sort of engulfed with couch grass, I've just not been able to get to it. So I think I'm just going to have to like heavily dig this perennial bed. Like I say, that's not something I really want to do, but I want to get to a point where I'm fully no dig. So I feel like putting in the effort to sort of dig out all of the really big perennial weeds now, and then heavily mulching and putting some thick cardboard on as well, because I've got loads of cardboard that I could use in this area, would be really good. So yeah, I think dig out the brambles, dig out the couch grass, dig out any awful perennial weeds, really thick layer of compost, and then a really thick layer of mulch. And then just behind is this other no dig bed, which is okay. A lot of bindweed grew in this bed this year, and it kind of grows from the path that just runs along the back of these beds. So again here, clear the weeds. There's not a lot of big perennial weeds that I need to dig out of here, so just be a case of like using a hand tool to take out some of these weeds, pulling a lot of them out, and then some compost on there to mulch it again, just so I can turn that into a no dig bed. Now the other thing that I've been thinking is there's a path that runs along the back of these beds, and basically all it is made up of is brambles, couch grass, bindweed. It's just full of awful weeds. Now I don't know whether to basically dig that out and get rid of that path, because it creeps onto the beds, which is really annoying, and it's quite hard to like keep on top of. So that's something else that I could do, is to sort of like dig that out. But the big problem is getting rid of it. Like when you dig out these big clumps of couch grass and brambles, like where do you put them? I don't really have big enough compost bays that I can have something where I put these things in and they actually compost down. The only other option is like digging stuff out, putting it in tubs and taking it to the tip, which might be an option for me really, you know, just to like get rid of some of the stuff so it's not on the actual allotment. But yeah, so that's what I need to do over this side, and then I'm just going to take you to the back to the greenhouse area and show you that. And also, I know you can see a big pile here. This is a big pile of my compost, so I've got loads of compost ready to use. Probably going to need some more. You always need quite a lot to do a space this big, and if you didn't know, my allotment is about 290 square metres, so it's a pretty big allotment. I'm not going to go into too much detail about this area. The beds, okay. I'm not going to spend too long talking about this area, but as you know, it's in front of the greenhouse and there's lots of raised beds. Now the raised beds haven't been cleared, so I need to clear them, weed them, top them up with compost. I need to dig out some brambles again that are growing from the path that sort of runs along the back of the allotment. There are some patches of couch grass and stuff growing in the wood chip. Now I think what I'm going to try to do is pull all of that out, dig it out, whatever I need to do, and then put a nice thick layer of fresh wood chip down here. I need to get another delivery of wood chip for me to be able to do that, but that's sort of the idea over this part. And then obviously the greenhouse. Oh my gosh, I've got myself tangled on a bramble. I feel like it's something out of Jumanji here on my allotment at the moment. The brambles are so bad, I feel like they're creeping in and grabbing me. They're not very nice. Anyway, the greenhouse, I obviously grew all of my tomatoes in the greenhouse, and I have just left them to die. I've really let the allotment go because I've not been here. So I need to go in there, I need to take out all of the pots and everything in there. I need to clear it out completely. The greenhouse needs a very, 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 very good scrub with some hot water, which is always difficult on the allotment because I don't have access to hot water. So I think what I'm going to have to do is like boil my kettle a few times and get my dad's stove as well and boil his, and like get a nice hot bucket of water and try and scrub the greenhouse so it's not got too much nasties in there. Obviously I need to take all the pots out. The pots need emptying, and then the pots need scrubbing as well. Normally what I would do is take all of the pots home and wash them at home in the garden because it's easier to get them washed properly, but it's also such a nightmare getting my car into the allotment and filling the car up and getting it back and doing that and blah blah blah. It's just like a really long-winded job. So again, I think what I'm going to do is empty them here and basically give them a wash down here with just some buckets of water, like with a bit of hot water and a bit of cold water, and do them here and then leave them in the greenhouse ready for next season, because that would just save me hours and hours. Sorry if you can hear the sirens, I'm not sure if that's blocking me talking. It would just save me hours of like coming down, even just coming down here to fetch them and get them home and get them out the car and stuff. That's hours of work. So I'm just going to try and make things a little bit more simple this year. So we'll get all of those buckets and tubs and stuff in there cleaned, and the greenhouse itself cleaned. Again, in this area I can see where all the brambles are growing from, so it's going to be a case of digging the brambles out. Now I think that's something I'm probably going to ask for a little bit of help from my dad with this year. I obviously try to do as much on my own as possible, but sometimes there's just jobs that you absolutely hate, and it's a little bit easier if somebody comes to help you do those jobs that you hate, because it's just, you know, so much easier to get them done. So I think I'll ask my dad to come and help me dig out all of the brambles. So if you're watching this, Dad, this is me asking for a bit of help. And that's it really. That is the plot from the top to the bottom. It's a mess, but it's the reality that I'm facing right now. I had a tough 2023. There were some really good parts, there were some really bad parts, and I was kind of glad to see the back of 2023, if I'm honest. I'm kind of just ready for that fresh new start for 2024. So happy new year everybody. Here's to a great 2024, and here's to a great 2024 gardening season as well. I am really excited to see how the space transforms over the next couple of months, getting it ready for spring. And then I'm really excited to actually just figure out what I'm growing. Normally I am looking at seeds on websites already. I know what I'm growing where, and I know the plant. I don't this year. I'm just going to sort of like take it as it comes, and I'll let you know. Probably going to have a little sort through my seeds soon, so I'll let you know what I'm going to grow. And yeah, there aren't any massive plans for the allotment space this year, in the sense of I kind of have the layout I want, and I have most things that I need, you know, like I have my raised beds. I wouldn't mind a couple of other raised beds, but I might buy a few of those if I've got the money. I've got an arch, but I'd maybe like a couple of arches. But other than that, you know, I have everything that I need down here. So it's just a case of putting in lots and lots of work up until probably April to get it ready and raring, so that I have an amazing spring, summer growing, lots of lovely fruits and vegetables, and of course lots of flowers. And that's it really. Thank you very much for joining me down here on this very cold January morning. The aim is that I will be putting out a definite monthly plot update and tour. And I think what I'll try and do is every other week or every week is just put a little progress video on that will be a bit shorter than obviously a plot tour, and it will just sort of give you an update of what I'm doing. Maybe I'll do some little videos like what seeds I'm sowing, when I'm planting things out and stuff like that, because I think that information obviously really helps people that are just getting started. I mean, I've been on my allotment 7 years and I feel like I have a good idea of what I'm doing, but every day is a school day, and we all learn lots of new things, and I'm still learning how to grow certain things. It's not as easy as it looks. Anyway, thank you for joining me. If you want to see more content from me, you can follow me here on YouTube. So I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel. Oh, I can't get the words out. And if you want to see other like more daily content, you can follow me over on my Instagram and Facebook channels, which are My Little Allotment. You can find me, you can Google me, and then you can find all of my social media platforms to follow. And I just really appreciate it. If you've enjoyed this video, let me know. If you've got any comments about my allotment or anything that you'd like to see me do, any jobs down here on the allotment that you'd actually like me to film so you can see how I do it, or anything that you'd like me to grow this year or whatever, just leave me a comment and like my video. I really appreciate it, and I will see you very, very soon.